welcome to Marketing Analytics, the key to new revenue generation, a one-to-one podcast sponsored by TeleTech. I'm Tom Hoffman, Executive Business Editor at One-to-One Media, and I'll be the moderator for this discussion. Customers are more empowered than ever, and they're increasingly reaching out to the companies they choose to do business with by using social, digital, and mobile tools. In the face of continued economic turbulence, it's become more critical than ever for corporate decision makers to take advantage of every opportunity that's available to them to retain their best customers and to drive new profitable revenue streams. One of the most effective ways to do this is by gathering, analyzing, and acting on the full range of behavioral, attitudinal, and transactional insights that customers share with us across multiple touchpoints. By obtaining a more holistic view of the customer experience, decision makers can gather critical insights that can be used to shape sales, marketing, and customer service strategies more effectively. In this one-to-one podcast, industry thought leaders Don Peppers, founding partner of Peppers & Rogers Group, and Judy Hand, President and General Manager of Direct Alliance Corporation and Chief Sales Officer at TeleTech, will discuss the opportunities available to executives through the use of marketing analytics tools, and how these tools can help companies deliver more relevant and meaningful offers and support to customers, which in turn can result in improved business performance. Don and Judy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Judy, how would you characterize the key top-line growth challenges that business leaders are facing in the current state of the market, given how buyers have changed?
We like to say that buyers have changed because they are now social, mobile, and digital. And that's really the best description of what's going on in the marketplace. And there's all sorts of statistics out there. 96% of people are on some kind of a social network. 40% of buyers are not only comparing prices with their mobile phones, but they're buying off of their mobile phones. So what companies are faced with is that they have got to really rewire their sales and marketing approaches so that they are taking advantage of all of these conversations that are being held outside of the four walls of their company, using those conversations to then drive the kind of analytics that drives the kind of treatment strategies that allows these customers to believe that these companies know who they are and therefore they choose these companies as the companies to do business with. You couple that with the fact that everything is completely transparent nowadays. So if you have had a bad experience with a company, that is going to be understood within minutes. And so companies have got to make sure that they are managing these customer experiences, every single one of them, every single day, so that they can continue to drive the kind of loyalty that is completely expected of all buyers nowadays.
Great points. Thanks. Don, how would you characterize these challenges?
I think Judy hit it right on the head. This social mobile reality means that there's nowhere to hide anymore. It used to be that you owned your brand message, you communicated it out, you managed it like you'd manage a communications campaign. But now the brand is in the hands of your customers, and when they talk about it among themselves, they don't talk about your advertising campaign or your positioning line. They talk about their experience with the brand. They talk about their reality, and they share that reality not just with their friends, but with thousands or millions of other people who can read about it. There's a great line by one blogger who said, when something bad happens to you, it goes on the Internet. You can't get rid of it. Basically, the line is, dude, you can't take something bad off the Internet. That's like trying to take pee out of a swimming pool. And the problem is when someone has a very bad experience and they put that on the Internet, it doesn't leave the Internet. It's there forever. You can never un-Google yourself. So this rising level of transparency means several things. Number one, it means that the companies that succeed are going to be those that are the most human, vulnerable, trustworthy, honest, authentic, friend-like companies, as opposed to the PR-managed, every word crafted marketing wizards. The role of data is going to be incredibly important in a little while. We'll talk more about that as we get into this executive session. I know there's a tremendous amount of basically unstructured data out there in the form of these social comments by customers talking to other customers.
Absolutely. Judy, can you tell us about the new local engagement economy and what sales and marketing approaches successful companies are using to reach this group?
Absolutely. So we've coined this phrase, the engagement economy. And to really break that down for you, customers expect you to engage them in an ongoing progressive conversation. And the reason that they expect that is because they are out there talking about you and about themselves and about their needs, and they expect you to be listening and acting. And no matter what the industry is, the one thing that we find drives affinity, drives loyalty, is if a customer feels like you know who they are. That when I call up my bank, they know who I am. They know everything I do with that bank. They know every issue I've had with that bank. They know how I feel about that bank. And that their approach to me is tailored to that. And the reason they expect this is because they're shouting it out there. So what Don said earlier, there's all this unstructured data out there. You have to not only be listening to it, but you have to be acting on it. And so what it really takes from a sales and marketing approach is it takes you first and foremost understanding what are the conversations that customers are having, where are they having them, bring all of that information into a centralized place, know how you want to help manage that conversation, build that progressive touch plan, that progressive conversation with that customer, and then deploy that. That's what they expect, and that's what they want. So 1 year ago, I believe the statistic was that if I was upset and I tweeted my dissatisfaction, I expected a company to follow up with me within 24 hours. That has now become 1 hour. So you can see what the rising expectation is, that you absolutely have to engage the customer and demonstrate every single day that you know who they are. And then that begins to translate into, as much as we've become this global economy, this engagement happens at a local level. So there's become this rise and resurgence of kind of the local business, because that's really where the engagement can occur. So again, just using a bank analogy, it may be a bank that's a worldwide bank, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's how that bank is treating me in Scottsdale, Arizona that matters. And so that's where this has really turned back to becoming as much of a local economy as it ever has been.
Great points. And Judy, as you pointed out here, a critical part of this is the ability to be able to gather and act on customer interactions and the things customers are telling us across multiple channels. So then, Judy, how can the adoption of a next-generation sales engagement platform help other firms achieve this type of success?
This platform is what sets the stage for you understanding where are all of these conversations being held. And you've really got to do it down to customers of one. So it no longer matters that I happen to be an empty nester, certain aged person who has certain demographic characteristics, etc. It's about kind of what I individually want and need and consume and all of that. And so you've got to make sure that you build a platform that is hooked into not just what you already know about me because you have buying information from me and you have transaction information, but what do you know about me from my social media habits? What do you know about me from any complaints or service issues that I've had? You need to make sure that you're hooked into all of that, and that the way you treat me, that next conversation you have with me, the next offer you make to me is informed based upon that. The best example that I use, it happens to be a major auto manufacturer that we are working with right now. And the reality is nearly all conversations that are held about automobiles are held on third-party sites. And if you think about it, this is what we all do, right? We go on the internet and we type in Nissan versus Toyota. I'm not going to one of those sites to do that search. I am typing in Nissan versus Toyota, and what's coming up are all the third-party sites that tell me all the comparisons and why I should think about one versus the other. Well, you know what? One of, if not both of those guys ought to be listening to that. And whatever offer they make me next ought to be based upon their understanding of what I'm in the market for. You know, I like to say that, people are screaming intent out there. And you've got to be listening to it because it's easier than it's ever been to understand down to a segment of one what a customer really wants from you.
Thanks, Judy. And thank you, Don. This concludes the One-to-One podcast, Marketing Analytics, the Key to New Revenue Generation, sponsored by TeleTech. On behalf of TeleTech and One-to-One Media, thanks for listening.